This is a patch that I made last night as I'm coming up with drones and backing tracks for the ambient guitar challenge that Chords of Orion issued a few weeks ago. So what I'm trying to do right now is just come up with a variety of backing tracks, and then I'm going to come back and do guitar over top of them to hopefully accomplish 6 tracks. This is the second one, and it's an example of modulating the Minibrute 2S from the CV outs of the Electron Analog 4. So what I'm doing is I've got 4 CV outs on the Analog 4. CV out 1 here is just sending a clock pulse with the clock division set to 4. So that means that for every 1 beat, or every 4 beats that the Analog 4 plays, it sends 1 clock pulse, effectively running the Minibrute at 1/4 the speed of the Analog 4. CV out 2 is an envelope value. So you can see here CV out, it's a linear value from 0 to 4 volts, and it's being sent a envelope. I'm looking at my notes here. There are a lot of them. So an envelope is being sent to CV out B, and B is coming in to control this VCA. So the VCA now functions as a modulation of the amplitude of the pitch. So what that's doing is it's sending a pitch value to modulate the frequency modulation on the filter, but it's being controlled, so it's not always modulating. It's being controlled by an envelope. So an envelope pulses this VCA, allowing whatever value is coming from VCO2 to affect the filter, and that's, you'll hear the filter being affected for short blips instead of just being affected all the time by the note value of VCO2. Clear as mud. So then we get to yellow. Yellow is CV out 4. That's this one. CV out 3 rather. CV out 3 is pitch, voltage per octave, coming from the sequencer on the Analog 4, the control voltage track of the Analog 4, and it's just driving the pitch of VCO2. So that's doing 2 things. It is sending a pitch value through this VCA, as I described, to modulate the frequency of the filter. It's also doing its default job. VCO2 is controlled with this knob, the FM. It sends the frequency modulation amount to VCO1. So I have frequency modulation going on based on the value or the note for VCO2, and I also am modulating the frequency of the filter. Woo! And then number 4 is the purple one right here. And number 4's job is to modulate the resonance of the filter. And it's set up, it's quite subtle in this track, but it does, or in this sound, but it does, you can hear it, but it required that I set an offset so that the 0, that is the fully off value, or the lowest value, not off, you can't turn pitch off, the lowest value of the pitch I had to scale, and the highest value I had to scale up so that it would affect the resonance in a way that I could hear. Otherwise it just didn't, it was probably doing its job at the electrical level, but it wasn't making any difference to the sound. So that is the Analog 4. It's set up out to the Minibrute 2, and the Minibrute and the patch sounds like this. And one more thing that's happening here, the pitches that are being sent out to control VCO2 and to control the yellow and the purple, and to control the resonance modulation are coming from the analog 4 sequencer. Now, I don't know that I can show this in the overbridge setup. I don't believe I can. But in the analog 4 sequencer, I have trigger conditions set. So they're all set to somewhere between 80 and 100% likelihood of firing. So as that provides this randomness to that background sort of melody that's being created by the modulation of the resonance and by the FM amount. So you'll hear that as it plays, you'll hear it sort of stumbling. The melody kind of stumbles along behind the main bass line. So we'll listen to that again. Right, so that's how I achieve that sound. There's a lot of modulation going on there. And this is my first full-fledged venture into using the control voltage. As I was working on this, I realized some of this I could probably accomplish, almost all of it I could probably accomplish just with the sequencer on the Minibrute, because it has these 4 tracks and they can be assigned to different values. They default to pitch, gate, velocity, and pressure, but they can be configured to send out different kinds of values, envelopes, voltages, pitches. So a lot of it, and I might turn around and try this at a later date, a lot of it may have been accomplished, I may have been able to accomplish it with the sequencer of the Minibrute. But this, to me, is the beginning forays into treating like these 2 instruments like one instrument and seeing what kind of interesting sounds beyond noise I can come up with. It is easy with this stuff to come up with noise, but I find coming up with something that doesn't tire your ears out quickly and that has musical value. I know it's subjective. Some people love noise, but for me, I need something musical enough back there that I can use other instruments with it. And also, I'm trying to find ways to be more ambient with this setup, and not just drive melodies and bass lines as I would typically do. So I'm going to work on my track now, and I hope this was a helpful video.